Walter Sisulu's role in the Rivonia Trial of the 1960s has been brought to new life through virtual reality. It's part of the Apartheid Museum's Reality Check exhibition being hosted in partnership with the Nelson Mandela Foundation and the French government. Now, the VR film, Accused Number 2, uses restored audio recordings of the trial to put the viewer right inside the Palace of Justice, where Sisulu, Mandela and other struggle heroes were tried for sabotage. I went to find out more.
Call accused number 2, Walter Sisulu.
Walter Max alias Sisulu.
Sisulu, you're 52 years of age. You were born at Transkei, there that you passed standard 4. After that, what did you do?
After that, I left for the Rand gold mine on my own.
And so began the intense 5 days that Walter Sisulu spent on the stand during the Rivonia Trial, which started in 1963. They're the focus of Accused Number 2, the very first virtual reality film to be hosted by the Apartheid Museum. The 256 hours of audio recordings of the hearings were recently restored by France's National Audiovisual Institute. Extracts from these precious audio archives have been set to striking animation in an award-winning 15-minute film directed by Nicolas Champoux and Gilles Porte. While Nelson Mandela's "I am prepared to die" speech from the Rivonia doc is considered one of the great speeches of the 20th century, less is known of Sisulu's testimony, on which he was relentlessly questioned by the chief prosecutor, Percy Utah.
The graphics work is incredible, because Sisulu is quite small and diminished in the presentation graphically. But through his testimony and through the power of his voice, he becomes larger and bolder and, just steadfast. And Percy Utah becomes more and more diminished because of the nastiness, the undermining, the horror, really, of what the state was trying to pin on, in many ways, the key leadership of the country at the time. Sisulu was a mentor for, many of the firebrands in the Youth League in the ANC in the 1940s. And that period of the ANC's history was very significant because it was the period in which the ANC transformed from being an elite organization to being a mass resistance movement. And Walter Sisulu was key. He played a key role at that time, but he was very much involved behind the scenes, and he felt very comfortable with that. He was not one who was looking for the limelight. He didn't have a large ego, and he was very much committed to mentoring and developing and putting forward other people as the face of the ANC and in leadership positions, including Nelson Mandela. It's very striking to me that, obviously some visitors may have heard of Walter Sisulu and may really be interested in the narrative that they're about to see in the virtual reality installation, but I think most visitors want the virtual reality experience, so they get drawn in by the technology, and then the narrative, the story is delivered to them through the technology. And particularly for younger visitors, that's the case. And that audience needs to be seduced. They're not naturally drawn to something that happened 50 years ago and is of not that much interest to them right now. They need to be convinced that it is fascinating, that it is very much relevant to what we are experiencing today as a country, particularly with the kind of leadership crisis that we face in the ANC today in South Africa.
The Reality Check exhibition also tells the broader life story of Sisulu, the firebrand, the political mentor, the intellectual who earned a degree in art history and anthropology while imprisoned on Robben Island, and the beloved spouse of Albertina.
It was super emotional because I miss his voice, I miss his laughter. You know, he was one of those people that when he laughed, the whole room got bright, no matter how dark it was. That was my grandfather. It makes me feel proud to see people like my grandfather recognized. Walter Sisulu was one of those team players. And that is why I think that documentaries like this need to be made for young South Africans to understand their liberation history and how important it is.
The reality check exhibition runs at the Apartheid Museum until the end of March next year. Marcel Gordon, Johannesburg.